In this video, I'm going to be doing a full-length ITIL 4 foundation mock exam with you. I'm Andrew Ramdial, and I have been teaching ITIL courses since 2008 to thousands of students around the world. Now, in this course, we're going to be doing 40 practice questions. Now, on the real exam, you need to get 26 of them correct in order to pass, or I think 65%. What I tell my students is I want you guys to get at least an 80%. 80% means that you're going to get 32 of these questions correct. If you can get 32, I think you're going to be just fine on your ITIL exam. Now, this is one of the mock exams that I give out as part of a pack of 6 mock exams that comes with the ITIL 4 Foundation course that I teach. If you're interested in my ITIL 4 Foundation course, check the link below. It's actually purchasing my course and my exam that comes with all the practice exams is actually cheaper, and it comes with the exam voucher. It's actually cheaper than purchasing just the exam voucher from PeopleCert. So if you want to get a great discount on your ITIL courses, check out the link below. And with that in mind, let's get started. Okay, now before I start, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to read the question for you, and I'm going to straight up answer it. I'm not going to pause because that's what the pause button on YouTube is all about. You can just click on pause. So what I want you guys to do is just click pause as soon as you see the question. You read it. You give it your best answer, and then I'm going to answer it. Now, when it comes to explanations, unfortunately, if you've been studying ITIL, you know ITIL is really definition-based. You have to know definitions of certain words to pass your exam. Don't forget, review the ITIL exam objectives to know what those words are. So sometimes if you see me cut the definition short, it's because if I give you a definition now, I'm probably answering a question for you down the line. So with that in mind, let's get started. Question number 1. What is the accurate approach to handling incidents? A. Incidents with minimal impact should be handled efficiently, eliminating the need for documentation. The practice of incident management should employ a uniform process, no matter the severity of the incident. Incidents with minimal impact should be managed efficiently to minimize the resources needed. Incidents that have the least severity should be addressed first. Best answer here is going to be C. Here's why. Let's go through the choices. A says, incident with minimal should be handled efficiently. Sounds good. Eliminating the need for documentation. Every single incident that a service desk gets should be documented. This is how we can see the efficiency of our service desk. If you don't log all of them, we'll never know how many incidents was actually resolved. So that's a no-no. B, the practice of incidents should employ a uniform process. Probably. No matter the severity, no. Certain incidents, for example, if you have a major incident that's affecting everyone in the organization and you have a smaller incident that is only affecting 2 users, the process or the procedures we use to solve one over the other shouldn't be the exact same. So no to that one. Now, C makes sense. Here's why. Minimal impact should be managed efficiently. Why? Because you don't have unlimited resources, right? Minimize the resources. You don't have unlimited resource to manage your incidents. So what you want to do is to use the least resource possible to solve your incidents. Incidents have the least severity should be addressed. No, incidents with the most severity or maximum severity, that's the one that should be addressed first, not last. Question number 2. Which accurately illustrates the interaction of components and activities to enable the creation of value? Now, you have to know your main components of ITIL to get this one correctly. If you do, it's a very easy question. Is it the service value system? Is it the guiding principle? The 4 dimensions of service management? Or the service exchange relationship? Answer. The service value system. The SVS, or the service value system, basically shows us all the things within our organizations, whether it's our guiding principles, for example, that we're going to use to take opportunity and demand and turn into value. Now, I don't want to go through the components of all these things because there's questions coming up on those things real soon. The guiding principles is something that we're going to follow no matter what we do in the organization, and no matter how much time change, you should always have good guiding principles. What are the things that affects the creation of the products and services that we offer? That's going to be the 4 dimensions of service management. Service exchange relationship is how we manage the relationship between us and basically other providers that we deal with. Best answer here is A. Don't forget the output of the SVS is actually value. Practice question number 3. Which practice is responsible for introducing new services into operations? Change management, release management, deployment management, or service level management? This one here actually has two throw-out answers and two good ones that you're probably going to play with. First of all, you can throw out change enablement and service level management, leaving you with one of these two here, release or deployment. A lot of students have a problem with this. Notice this thing, first of all, let's just eliminate. Change management only deals with changes to components or IT components or services within your organization. This thing here is all about new services into the operation. So we can throw that one out. Service level management is basically doing a service at the agreed level. Think like SLAs here. So this one here we can throw out. Now comes deployment management and release. Release management is responsible for the entire life cycle of that service, from basically how do we create the service, how are we going to update that service, how are we going to release it into operations and ensure operations keeps running well. Deployment is a different thing. You see, release is a broader term. Deployment is a more specific thing that deals with the technical aspects of taking out something basically from your test environment to your production environment. So the best answer here, especially where it says introduce a new services into operation, is basically going to be release management because it's just a bigger, broader term. Making the best answer here, B. Question number 4. Which pair of practices incorporate the use of workarounds? Is it change enablement and service level, change enablement and release management, problem management and incident management and continual improvement? The best answer here is going to be C. So what exactly is a workaround? Now, I don't want to give you too much of the definition because I believe I have a question on this. Keep in mind, a workaround is a term that you do need to know the definition of. And you should know what term is associated with what of those 34 practices. Now, the ITIL Foundation, keep in mind, doesn't cover all those practices, but the ones that we cover, you should know really well. So first of all, the word workaround basically means that you couldn't find a solution to something, so you came up with a way around that problem. The problem still exists, but it's a way around that problem. Notice the word workaround. Now, that means that it's something that's going to have some kind of negative impact on your service, right? Because you're working around this thing. And that basically means workaround is associated with problem management and incident management. It has nothing to do with continual improvement, change release, or service level management. Practice question number 5. Which of the following is not part of the 4 dimensions model? Remember, you got to make sure you know this one. Organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, process streams and procedures. Best answer here, guys, is going to be process streams and procedures. This is not one of the choices in there. You do have things, different things there for processes and value streams, but this here doesn't exist. This is actually a made-up term. These are actual parts of the 4 dimensions. Once again, make sure you know your 4 dimensions, and there's something around that 4-dimension model that I'm going to test you on a little bit later. Make sure you know what that stands for also. Practice question number 6. What changes are not typically included in a change schedule? Standard change, normal change, emergency change, none of the above. So when you make a change, you're probably going to schedule when that change should be implemented. But which change doesn't really have a schedule? That's going to be emergency changes. Why? Because let's say you wake up one day and you come to realize that your Microsoft Windows Server has a major flaw, and Microsoft just released a patch overnight. Well, you got to now go in and change the server by installing that patch. So there's a lot of things that comes into play. This is going to be a change that doesn't have a schedule to it because you couldn't anticipate it. So remember, emergency changes, unlike standard and normal changes, does not have a particular schedule. It's done when it's basically needed. Practice question number 7. Who is responsible for continual improvement? Is it senior management, users, administrators, or everyone? This is an easy question. I thought this was a giveaway. I think you guys know this. When it comes to continual improvement, the person responsible for that is everyone. There is a quality theory called TQM, or Total Quality Management, that says who is responsible for the quality of our products within our organization? Who should we be who should we be improving continuously? Everyone. Remember something, a company is really just a set of people trying to provide value. Now, if you think about it that way, if everyone is responsible for quality, That means, get this straight, then everyone is going to be working to provide quality products and services. So it's not just senior management, administrators, or users or administrators, it's everyone. Now, the word accountability comes a little farther. So somebody might say, well, who's accountable? Well, in that sense, it may be senior management is probably more accountable, which means they're going to be held accountable if continual improvement is not done. But when it comes to responsibility, who's doing it? It's everyone should be continuously improving at all times, just like you are getting your ITIL. Question number 8, what accurately defines an incident? This is one of the definitions you need to know. Check in the objectives for this. The deliberate decommissioning of a component that may impact a service. An outcome facilitated through one or more deliverables, a potential upcoming event that may result in damage, an interruption in service that can be rectified through self-service option. Now, best answer here, guys, is going to be D. That is correct. First of all, a lot of these things are not incidents. Okay, none of these here are incidents. The deliberate decommissioning of a component, all right, that's something that's being removed from service. That's more of a change of a service. An outcome facilitated through one or more deliverable, this is basically deploying your services. Nothing wrong here. Remember, an incident is something that's negatively disrupting a service. So if you know the definition of an incident, it's basically a service disruption. So which one of these here is a service disruption? An upcoming event that may result, that's more of a risk. That's something that may happen. It's not an incident. But notice, this thing here literally has the word interruption. Even though they were able to fix it using a self-service option, it was still a disruption and it's still classified as an incident. Question number 9. Agile is an umbrella term for frameworks such as Scrum, Lean, Kanban, or all of the above. Easy question if you know the definition of Agile. When it comes to Agile, Agile is basically is an umbrella term for things like Scrum, Kanban, Lean development. There are others, extreme programming, crystal development, there's a lot. There's so many different methods to Agile and so many different combinations, such as Scrumban, that is used in Agile. If you want to learn more about Agile, take my project management classes. I think I'm more popular for that than ITIL. But anyhow, anyway, remember this is a term for Agile. Remember, Agile is not just one thing, it's many different frameworks that are out there. Question number 10. Now, before I move on, one of the types of questions you're going to expect to get on your exam is what's called fill in the blanks. This is fill in the blank. Change enablement balances the need to make beneficial changes and the method to implement the change, the adverse effect of changes, the evolving needs of the business, or the cost of the change. Okay, this I got right out the ITIL guide. If you've been studying your ITIL book, the official ITIL book, then this one is pretty easy. To make beneficial changes, and one of the biggest problems with changes is going to be that adverse effect of that change. Anytime something breaks in IT, what do you IT folks say? Hey, who changed what? Who changed? What changed around here? One of the most common things we say in the world of IT. So we have to make that balance, right? We have to balance the need of, okay, do we need this change? How do we install this change? And then, of course, comes the adverse effect this change may have. Maybe it'll break something. Maybe it'll stop something. You know, we just deployed a brand new website and we're making a certain amount of money on this website. We know if we change the website, there's the adverse effect that people don't like the new site, or it's harder to navigate, or it's more difficult, and we start to lose income, right? So that's the adverse effect. So the method to implement change is not something we're not going to look at. That's going to be important, but this one here is a much broader term. The evolving needs of the business, every business needs to change as they evolve. Every change generally has some kind of cost associated with it. Best answer is B. Number 11, what accurately defines a service? An event with the potential to lead to damages or hinder goal attainment. A means of enabling value co-creation by facilitating outcomes that customers want to achieve without the customers having to manage specific costs and risks. A result, either tangible or intangible, produced by an action. Collaborative actions by a service provider and end consumer aimed at sustained value creation rooted in mutually agreed and accessible service options. Best answer is B. Now, this question really tests your knowledge if you really memorize your definition. I do want to point out that if you go through the ITIL book or you go through my slides in the course, I give you all these definitions. You have to know them really, really well. And this is word for word. B is literally word for word the definition of a service. Let's go over it. First of all, it's none of these things here. Why? Well, it's an event that potential, no. You want a service because you want value. It's a result either tangible, produced by an action. Technically, that's true, but ITIL did particularly say it's co-creation by facilitating outcomes, and customers don't want to manage cost and risk. Collaborative actions by a service provider and consumer. Notice rooted in mutually. That may be so, but we want to talk more about them not having to manage specific costs and risks. So this one is the word-for-word definition. Now let's break it down. If you've been studying ITIL, you know this already. Let's break this down quickly. Notice this says, enabling value of co-creation. Well, co-creation, when I give you a service, right? If I provide a service to you, are you getting value from it? Yes. But am I getting value from it? Yes, because you're paying me. So imagine you go to a service provider like AWS and you bought some cloud services from AWS. Well, it's a co-created value. Why? Because you're paying them, so AWS gets value, and they're providing cloud service, so you're getting that. So that's what that is. By facilitating outcomes that you want. So let's say you go to Amazon. You're a customer. Amazon is a service provider. Notice, want to achieve. So you want to achieve the usage of those cloud services without having the customers to manage specific costs and risks. The reason you went to Amazon is because you don't want to manage your own server. You don't want to manage your own data center. You don't want to manage the internet line. You don't want to manage the uptime. You don't want to manage the people. You don't want to manage the power consumption, the cooling needs of all those machines. No, you want this because you want that service without taking on any of the cost of running that service or any of the risk associated with the service, making B the best answer. Once again, guys, if you want more explanations, more in-depth explanations, check out the course. Question number 12. Which practice creates a communication pathway between the service provider and its users? Is it relationship management, change enablement, release management, or your service desk? Best answer here, guys, is going to be your service desk. Here's why. Notice it's a pathway between the service provider and its users. Well, think about this. If your organization right now is providing IT services, which I'm sure it is, to all your users, the question is, what is the communication pathway between Bob, the guy in the accounting department, the user, and the help desk, right? Not the help desk, the service provider, the IT people. Well, it's the help desk, or as they say, the service desk. So the service desk is basically that pathway of how users get in contact with the service provider or the IT department, in other words, making D the best answer. Relationship management deals with all the many relationships that we manage to provide our services. Think of like vendors or AWS you may be using. This is how we change services. This is how we get those services out there, how we release them. Question number 13. What choice is defined in ITIL to support the holistic approach in service management? It says support the holistic approach, say in service management. Is it the 4-dimension model, 2-dimension model, external factors, or service model? Best answer here, and if you watch the other ones, this one here is pretty easy. The 4-dimension model, when you look at your service, you have to have a holistic approach to it. When you look at services, you just don't look at it as one thing. You look at it as many things, whether it's the people, it's technology, it's a relationship, it's the processes we follow, and all the external factors that affect the service. So when you look at a service, look at that service holistically. Making A the correct answer. First of all, the others really don't exist. Question 14. Which practice coordinates the classification and ownership of an incident? Change enablement, incident management, problem management, service desk. This one may sound easy, but the actual answer is service desk. Incident management. Notice this says classification and ownership. So Incident management really deals with looking at the incident, setting up a procedure to resolve incidents. But when an incident comes in, somebody takes ownership of it and somebody classifies the incident. Who does that? That's the person at the service desk. That's why this question is tricky. So remember, classification or ownership of the incident is actually the service desk doing that and not part of incident management. Okay, problem management we'll talk about later because we have questions on this, and so is change management. Question number 15. Now you will see questions like this on the exam where they're going to give you like a brief question, they're going to give you choices, then you have to say which of those choices are correct or sometimes incorrect. Events are often classified as informational, warning, and exceptions. So what exactly is it? Is it 1 and 2? Are they only information and warning? Are they informational and exception, 1 and 3? Are they warning and exceptions, or are they all? Okay, hopefully you memorize this out of your guide, out of your book, and the answer here is going to be D. So events are informational. In other words, they're just telling you something has happened on a system. They're warning. This is something bad may happen coming up in the future. You better fix it. Nothing bad has happened yet though. And exceptions, something bad has probably happened. So don't forget, now I use the word bad, but keep in mind, events are not necessarily bad. Events can be good or bad. Number 16, what accurately defines warranty? A method for recognizing potential harm or loss inducing events. A method for assuring if a service meets its intended function. A method for pinpointing a desirable outcome for a stakeholder. A means of determining whether a service is fit for use. Now, if you go through your ITIL course, this one is really simple. There's 2 terms that you really need to know, and you better know the definition for, pretty sure all of you are going to get either one on their exam, and that's warranty and utility. Cover that later, but don't forget, when you look at the warranty, you're looking at, is it fit for use? Right? It's a means to determine whether a service, is it fit for use? If something doesn't have the right quote-unquote warranty, it may not be fit for use. Now, the other one is called utility, and I don't want to say what it is because it'll give away the answer to a lot of other questions, but remember, warranty is about fit for use versus should I even be using this thing, right? Does it serve my purpose in the other one? So it's not about a method for recognizing potential harm or loss, no. That basically could be things like incidents. A method for assessing if service meets an intended, that's more like service level. Method for pinpoint desirable outcome, that's the entire service value system. So D, remember this term, fit for use. There's also another one. All right, this is warranty. Don't forget utility is the other term. Question 17, which statement accurately describes a standard change? Every implementation necessitates a comprehensive evaluation. It's possible to proceed with minimal testing. A specific authority level should be designated for each variation of change. This type of change bypasses the need for further approval. Answer. Well, if you've been studying well, you realize that a standard change, the reasons why it's considered a standard change in an organization is because it doesn't need any type of approval. It's already been pre-approved, and when somebody calls up and they want that change, maybe somebody wants access to a particular kind of equipment that's been pre-approved that if they call and they want, give them access. Maybe Mary has been pre-approved to be able to access that printer and that other printer. Maybe Mary has been pre-approved to get this software, get this workstation, or to get this new kind of service that the organization may be offering. When she calls and she wants a change from this to this, it's already been pre-approved, she gets it. That's why it's considered a standard change. Now, remember, it doesn't need any more approvals. Now, it doesn't need a comprehensive evaluation because it's been pre-approved, it's been pre-assessed. Testing should always be something, we're not saying it's not possible to proceed with minimal testing. You should do some testing, not too much because this thing has been pre-approved. The specific authority level should be, no, it's already been pre-approved. Question number 18. What is identified as a cause or possible cause of one or more incidents? I'm telling you guys, this one I had on my ITIL 4 exam. The moment ITIL 4 came out, I took this exam, and this is one of the most popular ITIL questions. I'm almost 90% certain every one of you will get this question. What is the cause of multiple incidents That is known as a problem. None of these here make sense. It's not an incident because we're talking about incidents, it's not a workaround, it's not a release. Remember something for your exam. Incident versus problem. Multiple incidents forms a problem. Incidents is about fixing things right away, minimize disruptions to your environment. So if you have something that is causing multiple incidents throughout the organization, that's going to be a problem. Let me give you an example. So a user calls up and says, I can't access the internet. Incident number one. You can't get to the machine seems to be disconnected. Another user calls up and says, hey, I can't access the file server. All my files are gone. It's another incident. Another help desk person now tries to start fix. Another user calls up and says, well, I can't access the database. What the hell is going on? Multiple incidents. What's the problem? Well, after looking at this, looking at all these incidents that are happening, your IT department comes to understand that, you know what? There's a problem with the network switch. This switch is offline. The switch is broken. The switch, something happened. Power supply blew out or something. That's the problem. So remember for your exam, multiple incidents is generally going to be caused by a problem. So one of the things we do is when we resolve a problem, we're resolving something that's going to solve multiple incidents. Remember that for your test. Question 19. What is a tangible or intangible deliverable of an activity? Is it outcome, output, deliverable, and scope? This is another question I had on my ITIL exam. Make sure you know the difference between output and outcome. Okay, I'm going to explain this to you in a second though. Notice it's tangible, deliverable of an activity. When we finish an activity, we're going to get what is called the output. The output is what you get when you finish something. The outcome is what you desire. Let me give you an example. I desire to get a higher pay. Okay, great. So I go and I take an ITIL course from Andrew and I pass my ITIL exam. The output of taking the course is the ITIL 4 certification. The outcome of this activity is a higher raise. Generally, what you desire is the outcome. And sometimes you may have to do multiple activities and get multiple outputs in order to get the outcome that you're looking for. Remember that for your exam. Again, take the course, more definitions in it. Deliverable and scope, although these are good options, the best ITIL term here is going to be output. Okay, we're at the halfway point. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. What approach to deployment is done when new or changed components are deployed to all targets at the same time? Now, you got to study deployment management to know the difference between the deployments that are out there. Phase deployment, continuous delivery, big bang deployment, or pull deployment. Best answer is the big bang deployment. So the phase deployment is over a specific period of time, certain aspects are given out of a particular component. Continuous, you just keep delivering components, think DevOps here. Pull deployment is when the users can go and decide whether they want to get that component or they don't. So they pull it to their workstation themselves. Big bang deployment, this is when you leave, everybody leaves Friday evening. They were all using Windows 10, and by the time they came back on Monday morning, they all had Windows 11. That's a big bang deployment. It's when every single target in that organization is changed, such as everybody going from 10 to 11. Okay, if you have 16 questions correct, I think you're doing good. I want you to get an 80%. So right now we're at question 20, 80%, and 20 is 16 questions. Let's keep going. Okay, definition. Blank is any financially valuable component that can contribute to the delivery of an IT product or service. Is it service asset, product asset, user asset, or IT asset? This is a straight definition. Some of these things don't even exist. The answer here is going to be straight IT asset. So what exactly is an IT asset? Well, it's any financially valuable component, and this could be anything within IT assets, right? It's not just hardware, but software and all the other things that we use to provide our services that can contribute to the delivery. Think servers, think software, cloud, whether it's cloud services or cloud server or cloud software, whatever it is that you're using, that is considered an IT asset. Straight definition question. Question 22. What ensures that someone can't deny that they took an action? This, by the way, is in the security practice. Confidentiality, integrity, non-repudiation, and availability. So one of the things they talk about is a lot in the book is the CIA. So I went and I got the term that maybe a lot of people didn't study, and that's non-repudiation. So first of all, let's go through the term. Confidentiality means that only authorized personnel can access that data. Think of like using like Windows permission or encrypting something. That's going to mean that, hey, this thing is confidential and only Bob and Mary can access and no one else. Integrity is about if something has changed. We have to be able to detect if someone has illegally changed something. Availability is the product or services available when needed. Is that service available? For example, is the file server online? Is the website online? Or is it not? That's availability. You want high availability. Now, let's get to this term non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is when someone cannot deny that an event has taken place. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say I'm a bad guy and I'm surrounded, there's a great camera in front of me here, and I'm a bad guy. So what I do is I grab this camera and I steal it and I run out of the room. Okay? Well, there's another camera in the ceiling watching me over there. So they call the police on me and the police comes and says, hey, Andrew, did you steal that camera? And I said, no, I didn't steal anything. And the police is like, yeah, man, we have you on footage stealing it. Oh, darn, you caught me. I can't deny it. I can't repudiate the statement. So I can't deny that, hey, you know what? I never stole that, right? I can't deny it. Why? Because they have me on camera actually stealing it. In the world of security, things like footage, right? CCTV would be able to get you non-repudiation of people physically stealing something. In the world of IT, we use things like digital signatures or technical security. So if something is digitally signed, you know it came from that particular person. Non-repudiation. Know the definition for your test. Question number 23. What is defined as the addition, modification, or removal of anything that could have a direct or indirect effect on services? Service modification, service request, service adjustment, or service change. One question, straight definition, guys. When we do something, which one of these is going to be added, modified, or removal of something, and that is going to be a service change. So anytime we add, modify, or remove, that is considered changing of that IT service. None of these things here make sense, and I basically made a lot of those up. Question 24. Every incident should be reported to management, escalated to higher support, analyzed for problems, or be logged. Answer, every single incident should be logged. Now, I answered this actually in the first question. Keep in mind, not every senior management doesn't need to know of every small thing that happens. Not every incidents should be solved generally on first contact, we hope. So you don't want to send everything up to level 2 or level 3. Analyze for problems. Incidents can be fixed right away. It's only unless you start having multiple incidents that could be related to something do you actually analyze it for problems. But every incident I mentioned earlier should be logged. That way we know how efficient our incident management process is. If you don't log all your incidents and people are solving problems, there could be something massively wrong with one of your services. For example, maybe you have a CRM system that's very difficult to use and it's basically delaying your salespeople because it keeps crashing, but they keep just reopening it and it just works for a little bit more while. Nobody's reporting it. Or maybe the help desk is just saying restart, nobody's logging it. So in the end, you never know that there's something actually wrong with this application. That's why you want to log all your incidents. Question 25. What step in the ITIL continuous improvement model provides context for all subsequent decisions and links individual actions to the organization vision for the future? Okay, good question. What are those steps? Now, I'm not going to say the number of steps, but make sure you know all your steps in that continual improvement model. In the course, I give you a few examples, how I use it to lose weight, how I use it to purchase a house, how I use it to improve the IT services in our business. So make sure you know that one. What is the vision? Where do we want to be? How to measure the progress? Take action. All right? Answer is going to be, what is the vision? Good. Hopefully you guys got that. Notice, before you really go down the entire continual improvement model, make sure you really understand, like, where are we trying to go with this? What exactly are we envisioning here? What are we going through? The continual improvement model means many things will change. But what is it you're trying to accomplish, right? That's going to set every decision after that. Every action that we take is going to be for that vision. For example, you're studying ITIL right now. At least I hope so. You're watching this video. Where are you trying to get out of this? Are you trying to get the vision is maybe a better house, more financial independence, I should say. What are you trying to get out of this? That is what's driving you for all the other decisions you make. Question 26, after you have determined where you are now, what should you do next? All right, so remember to know your steps. And this one here tests if you know those steps. Determine where do we want to be. Determine how to get there. Determine how to keep going. Determine how to take action. Notice it says, what should you do next? So right now we're determined where are we now. And the next thing, if you know where you are, then you should determine, here, where do we want to be? So when you're think about it this way. I like using the easy one of just like weight loss when I talk about this. Where are we right now? Well, I'm at 200. Let's say I'm at 215. Where do I want? After that, the next thing you got to say is, well, where do I want to be? Well, I want to be 195. So it's got a little bit of a gap there, right? That's the questions. Determine how to get there is probably going to come next. How to keep on going, more towards the end. And between how do we get there and stuff like that, we got to determine, what actions. Question 27. What can have a significant impact on the technology a company chooses? Is it time needed, culture, risk, and scope? This is a tricky question. All right, this one is intentionally made difficult. The answer here is going to be, think of something that really affects everything. All right, think of something that really affects everything. That's going to be culture. The culture within the organization a lot of times will dictate what type of technology we use. For example, the company culture may be of a high-risk culture. They always adapt to new technology. New technology comes at a lot of risk because it hasn't been proven yet. The other culture is more of a conservative culture. They like to wait, watch what happens, use a little bit of an older technology because it knows it's more proven. So culture really affects everything we do in a business. You guys know this. You change jobs and you go into different company cultures and you're like, wow, it's like night and day between them. The way they choose their technology, the way they deliver the service, the way they handle the service, the way they handle errors, problems, incidents, and so on. Question 28. What can be defined as a series of steps an organization undertakes to create and deliver products and services to consumers? Is it value maps, process streams, or value stream? Answer is, this is a straight definition. That answer is going to be value stream. So value streams, basically when you make it like a value stream, you're basically showing the steps that you're going to take in order to deliver that products and or service to that consumer. So that answers this. These answers really don't exist. I try to come up with words to confuse you. Question 29. What does the S in the PESTEL framework mean? Service, sector, set, or social? Now, you have to remember for your exam that the PESTEL framework is basically what's around the service value system. For your exam, know what the acronym means, like I have it here, and make sure you know what each of those mean. Let's just go through what this is. So the S in PESTEL basically means social, not set, service, or sector. Now, remember what PESTEL stands for. Let's give this a quick one. Political. You have economic and environment, the two E's. You have S, social, T, technology, and L is legal. Now, in the course, we're going to go over the definition of all that, but for now, just know what the acronym means. Number 30. What is a recommendation that guides an organization in all circumstances, regardless of changes in its goals, strategies, type of work, or management structure? Is it the guide and service, guide and principle, service principle, or manage principle? So this one is pretty easy. Remember your service value system, for example. It's actually the guide and principle. The guide and principles guides the organization through any time, and it doesn't matter what they're doing. Whether you're looking to implement on-site servers or off-prem, or you're going to go, I should say on-prem, or you're going to go off-prem, you're going to go into the cloud. What is it that you're trying to do? Well, those guiding principles will guide you in there. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Your guiding principles is what you will stick by at all times. Doesn't matter the work you're doing. Doesn't matter who comes in and out, who's the management. Doesn't matter the goals or the strategies. The guiding principle is what the organization should always follow. Such as what? Focus on value. No matter what you're doing or who comes in charge, make sure to focus on value. Question 31. The ITIL Continual Improvement Model has blank steps. Remember, I told you I couldn't tell you that number earlier because this question asks how many steps are in that model. And if you said 7, you are absolutely correct. There are 7 steps in the ITIL Continual Improvement Model. For your exam, you probably only get, I believe it's 1 or 2 questions on it. Just make sure you know all 7 steps because they can ask you any one of those steps. Question 32. Which practice manages all predefined actions initiated by users? Is it release management, problem management, service level management, or service request management? Notice, pretty easy one, notice says manages the keyword is predefined actions, right? What is predefined actions? Well, that's something that they probably want, that we already know they're probably going to ask for. And if they're asking for it, they're basically asking for service requests. They're saying, hey, can I get access to this? Can you give me access to this file or folder? That's considered a service request. Service level management is just making sure the service meets the agreed level. Think SLA. Release management is releasing those components. And problem management is dealing and fixing multiple incidents. Question number 33. What is an example of a service request? A request for the reinstatement of standard service operations. A request for the application of a security update. A request for an entry to a document. A request for the exploration of an incident's origin. Answer. Now this one I probably gave you the answer earlier. Answer is going to be C. Okay. Notice A request for a reinstatement you took it out for a reason, right? Why was it removed? This is more like a change. A request for an application. This is something that deals with information security. It's probably going to go through multiple practices. Information security, for example, would be one of them. Change management is going to be one of them. Deployment, release management. A request for the exploration of an incident, this is going to be problem management. But if somebody's asking for an entry into a particular document, they're probably requesting access to that particular service. 34. Which 2 inputs are needed for the service value system? Is it demand, products, value, or opportunity? All right, 2 inputs. Think about this. The SVS, at the beginning of it, if you remember the diagram, it has 2 main inputs. What are those inputs? And that's going to be, did you get it right? Demand and opportunity, right? Demand and opportunity is what drives our organization to provide value, utilizing all the products and services that we have. Remember that for your exam. So it's number 1 and 4. Question 35. What do you call a problem that has been examined but remains unsolved? Workaround, incident, known error, or problem? Now, one of the answer here is pretty straightforward. Not going to be the answer. It's problem. I know it's there and there. So 1 throw out. What exactly is it? Notice it says remains unsolved. So the answer here is best known to be a known error. So a known error basically is when something happens that, let's say in an application, for example, when users open up their reports and they filter it for more than 2 years, it crashes the report. We haven't put in a fix for this yet, but we tell them don't make reports more than 2 years because it'll crash the report. The help desk people or service desk will tell that to your users. This is considered what's known as a known error. A workaround, basically you come up with some kind of solution that goes around a problem. An incident is something that's causing a disruption to an IT service. And then of course, problems are going to be something that causes multiple incidents. Question 36. Which ITIL concepts aids an organization in making informed decisions? Is it the 4 dimensions of service management? Is it the guiding principle? Is it the service value chain or the 34 ITIL practices? This one here I covered with you guys a little bit earlier. I think this one was pretty easy, and the answer here is going to be your guide and principles is really what's going to help you make all decisions about anything within your business. The 4 dimension is really going to help us make those products and services. The service value chain shows us how we take opportunity and demand and provide value. And the way we run our business is going to be with those 34 ITIL practices. 37. Which principle advises removing work that offers minimal or no benefit to the organization or its customers? Is it keep it simple and practical? Is it focus on value? Is it start where you are? Or is it progress iteratively with feedback? Progress, I should say. Put the answer, let me know what you guys got. And the answer here is going to be keep it simple and practical. Yes. If something is too complex, if something is not needed, take it out. If something doesn't really add value to what you're doing, all it's doing is making it more complex and less simple. The more components means more complexity, making that the best answer. Question 38. Blank is the procurement of a product or service from more than one independent supplier. Is it outsourcing, multi-sourcing, insourcing, or single sourcing? So this one we cover in depth. Make sure you know the different terms and what exactly it means. And this one is pretty simple. Notice it says for more than one. So more than one generally means you're multi-sourcing. Outsourcing is generally going outside to get some help. Maybe you have an outside help desk. Versus single sourcing, this is going to be maybe from a single vendor. Insourcing is generally within and outsourcing is outside. But if you're going for multiple, that's going to be multi-sourcing. Pretty easy question. 39. Which ITIL guide and principle recommends using existing services and processes and tools while improving services? Progress iteratively with feedback, keep it simple and practical, start where you are, optimize and automate. Best answer here, notice this one says using existing services and principles. That means you want to start where you are. This is going to be one of those guiding principles. Before you go out and you buy new things and you try new things and you acquire new hardware and software and people, why don't you start where you are? You'll be surprised to know how much of the existing things could be used to accomplish your vision. And finally, question 40. Which of the following are steps in the ITIL continual improvement model? Is it what is the vision? Where do we want to be? How to measure the progress? Take action. One of these here is not going to be it, or 2 of these, or 1 of these, who knows? Is it 1 and 2? All right. Is it 1 and 3? Are those the only 2 here? Is it 1, 2, and 4? Or is it all of the above? Which one of these are the actual, which one of these are part of the 7 steps? Answer is 1, 2, and 4. This, how to measure the progress, is not one of the steps, all right? That's not one of the 7 steps, but the rest of these are. Okay, that concludes this particular one on here. Now, hopefully you guys learned a lot in this particular session. If you're interested in more practice exams, check the link below for my full ITIL course. Also, my full set of practice questions that comes with it. And don't forget, it comes in at an amazing price, much cheaper than you would purchase with the ITIL voucher. So if you're interested in that, check out the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.